with issues with drugs and found that she couldn't raise the kids. What ended up happening is that Simone Biles ends up being adopted and taken in by her grandparents, while her brother Tevin is adopted by an aunt.
In 2021, the two couldn't be at more opposite points in their lives. While Simone is training for the Tokyo Olympic Games, her brother Tevin is facing murder charges.
It's Cleveland 911. Somebody's calling the police.
Hello, somebody just got shot into a party at where?
Somebody just got shot at a party?
2 people did.
It's New Year's Eve 2018. Tevin and his cousin Devon showed up uninvited to a party at an Airbnb in the city of Cleveland.
No one at the party knows Tevin, but they do know Devon, who quickly clashes with two men, Toshawn Banks and Delvante Johnson.
Now, although Tevin doesn't know what's going on, he is gonna naturally come to the defense of his cousin.
Allegedly, Tevin pulls out a pistol.
According to witnesses, he shoots Delvante and Toshawn Banks at the same time.
In a gunfight that follows, Tevin's cousin Devon is also shot. When police arrive on the scene, witnesses have already scattered.
3 people got shot in the building? Where's the building at you were at, honey?
Clean police, anybody here? Clean police, make yourself known.
In the end, there are 3 victims. 21-year-old Toshawn Banks, 23-year-old Devon Gibson, and 19-year-old Delvante Johnson. Delvante's mother, Brandy, will never forget that night.
I got a call saying that he had been shot, so I rushed to the hospital. When I did arrive to the hospital, I already knew that my son was dead.
Police try to piece together what they can in the aftermath of a chaotic scene. Ultimately, a trail of clues points to Biles Thomas.
No one knew him at the party, but there was surveillance video of everyone that entered the party. So they knew he was at the party. Someone said that they saw him shoot, saw my child and Toshawn be hit by his bullets and him flee.
He actually packs up his things and hops in his car, driving back to Fort Stewart military base in Georgia, where he is an active duty soldier.
Tevin is arrested in August 2019. In May of 2021, pretrial hearings begin.
After these charges are filed, now it's the defense attorney's job to poke holes in the case. So what did they look at? Well, the fact that, one, a weapon was never found, and that's a big issue. And then on top of that, there was no DNA for Tevin on any of the casings found at the scene.
The defense also takes aim at conflicting eyewitness accounts of the shooter's clothing.
One said a black swooshy jacket, gold-rimmed glasses. Another said it was a blue jean jacket and Timberland boots.
Later on, it was discovered that, well, it wasn't just Tevin allegedly wearing Timberland boots. There were at least 8 other people wearing Timberland boots to the party. And in fact, not only was that an issue, the security camera footage itself was a little skewed in the sense that you couldn't really tell which color was which. So with all of this information, the defense attorney was able to build their defense saying that, hey, you cannot prove this case against Tevin because the evidence is just too shaky. Now, you would think that based on that alone, the prosecutor would think twice about bringing these charges. But when there is a murder in this type of situation at a party with multiple possible victims and a chaotic scene, the prosecutor will charge even with this type of inconsistent evidence.
When you have a crime like this, 3 dead bodies, a big party going on in the neighborhood somewhere, there's going to be some outrage by the community. They want to know who did it. They want that person or persons punished.
And in fact, when there is a highly emotionally charged situation, circumstantial evidence can be enough to convict someone of the crime. And then on top of that, when you file the charges, there's a good chance that a plea agreement could result based on the charges. So it does not shock me that the prosecutor brought these charges.
Tevin's defense attorney wants to have the charges thrown out entirely. And that brings us back to the courtroom on June 15th for a motion to dismiss hearing.
The defense attorney can say, hey, judge, based on everything we just heard, there's not enough evidence to go forward.
It's been 2 years since the murder, and emotions are running hot in the courtroom. Delvante's mother, Brandy, is in the audience.
She's finally able to go to trial. That's 2 years of not knowing if she will see justice in her son's murder case.
Then Judge Sonnenberg makes her ruling on the motion to dismiss.
In viewing the evidence in the light most favorable to the state, it is insufficient to sustain a conviction. The motion is granted as to all counts.
Once she said that, I was outraged. It's like, you really gonna let this man free? And I just wanted, I wanted him to hurt how my son hurt.
Devontae Johnson's mother was infuriated. She was convinced that Tevin was the murderer. So now for the case to be dismissed, it was much too much for her to handle.
Get back! Get back! Get back!
Officers regain control over the courtroom, and Brandy is escorted out in handcuffs.
You all right?
In the end, Judge Sonnenberg did not charge Devontae's mother with any crime for her outburst. To charge her would have been further victimizing a family that had already been through a major loss.
It's a hurting feeling to know that he's back to living his life and I have to go visit mine at a cemetery. Devontae was going to be a father. His daughter was born 7 months after his death. And he was robbed of being a father.
In her line, Tevin really did get away with murder.
On May 4th, 2020, 39-year-old Donald Trevette appears at the Hamilton County Courthouse in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Now, this guy is very familiar with the courthouse and the criminal system because he has charges pending or resolved for possession of a handgun, possession of paraphernalia, possession of drugs, domestic assault, criminal trespass. If there's something bad to do, he's probably done it. But on this day, he has no case on the docket.
Donald Trevette approaches Deputy Delone Sintel and security officer Skip Finley with a strange request.
He tells the court personnel, I need to go to my office and take a shower because I have a wrestling match I need to get to. It's possible Trevette is suffering either from mental health issues or is under the influence, or both. And that explains why he's really talking nonsense.
So the officers say, hey, look, you basically got to get out of here.
But then when they asked him to leave, he said he's gonna kick everyone's ass.
The defendant, Donald, gets very aggressive, and Officer Skip Finley kind of gets up in his face and does a little chest bump with him.
You want to try to de-escalate a situation, not add fuel to the fire. And you have Security Officer Hunt, who's literally trying to defuse the situation.
The next thing you know, punches are being thrown, glasses are flying on the floor, bodies are on the floor. It's a total train wreck.
The scuffle takes a scary turn when Trevette gets a hold of Officer Finley's gun.
This is always super dangerous. The last place you want to have your weapon is in the hands of a suspect.
So other officers jump in to try and just hold his hand and keep it from doing anything with that gun. And finally, very clever and very quick-moving officer ejects the clip from the gun.
Additional staff members are called in to help.
No shots were fired. Eventually, they had to put a spit mask on him. They did shackle his ankles.
Trivette is then led across the street to the jail.
If this guy had gotten a hold of a loose gun, all of the people in that hallway, it could have been a bloodbath.
In June of 2021, Donald Trivette pleads guilty to multiple charges and is sentenced to nearly 5 years in prison.
The charges just escalated because he went to the wrong place at the wrong time, seeking his shower.
In Centerville, Michigan, Judge Jeffrey Middleton presides over a domestic violence hearing at the 3B District Court. In the midst of the COVID epidemic, all hearings take place on Zoom.
Convenient, right? But not always a good thing. There's so many things you can't control when it comes to a Zoom hearing.
Today's hearing will determine whether 21-year-old Kobe Harris will stand trial for a violent assault on his girlfriend, 31-year-old Mary Lindsay.
On this Zoom hearing is the judge, the prosecutor, the assistant prosecutor, defense counsel, there's also an officer, and then there are the two litigants.
The relationship between Mary and Kobe is an on-again, off-again, abusive, domestic violence cycle.
On February 9th, 2021, Kobe's violence turns deadly when, according to Mary, he hits her with a crowbar and threatens her with a jack.
She says he's threatening to knock her teeth out, and at one point he even douses her with lighter fluid, threatening to kill her. Incredibly, Mary is able to get free, call 911, and report that she's been attacked.
Officers respond and arrest Kobe. He is charged with aggravated felonious assault. Kobe bonds out and is issued a no-contact order with Mary.
After Kobe's arrest, he's able to make bond and he's released from jail.
Their Zoom hearing takes place the next month.
What were you and Kobe arguing about, if you remember?
It was just that we weren't, I had said I wasn't going to come back to the apartment, so he was there, and so then, that kind of initially just had started the argument.
And during the course of the argument, what happened?
It wasn't even a very long argument. We just kind of both got really angry. It was just kind of like an accusative argument, just like, I don't know.
Now, Prosecutor Davis, who's probably had some dealings with Mary by this time, is very aware of what the normal tone and cadence may be in her voice is. So when she starts questioning Mary, she immediately identifies that Mary seems to be a little more apprehensive than she was maybe before they'd spoken. She seems to be downplaying some of the details surrounding that assault.
Assistant Prosecutor Deborah Davis asks Mary about the 911 call that resulted in Kobe's arrest.
Mary, did the police come to your apartment that night?
They did, yeah.
Who called the police?
Technically me.
You can see Mary acting very unusual. She's looking left and right as if there's maybe something going on off camera that's garnering her attention.
This Prosecutor Davis, she's sharp, sussing out what's happening there on the other side of these Zoom cameras.
Your Honor, I have reason to believe that the defendant is in the same apartment as the complaining witness right now, and I'm extremely scared for her safety. I want some confirmation that she is safe before we continue.
Miss Lindsay, where are you right now? Mr. Harris, where are you?
Your Honor.
All right, I want you to walk out to the front of the house, show me the house number on the house.
Judge Middleton was not going to be fooled easily. In fact, I really liked the way he played it. He actually asked questions that would seem to be no big deal.
Why? I don't even think this phone has the charge for that, sir. I'm at 2% right now. I'm hooked up to this wall charger right here.
While all of this is happening, Prosecutor Davis is communicating via text message with the officer who is also on the Zoom meeting. Now, she's texting him to get him to initiate an immediate officer response to Mary's home.
Luckily, police officers are already in the area and respond within minutes.
The police are at Miss Lindsay's apartment right now, knocking on the door.
All right. Ms. Lindsay, would you go answer the door?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
You take your phone with you so that I know you're okay.
So we know that now they're busted. The police arrive, and Colby's phone, it goes blank. We don't know what's going on.
No, he just hung up. This is a issue we didn't have when we had live court.
When Colby turns his phone back on, he's there with a cigarette in his mouth.
Yes?
Your Honor, me and Mary both don't want the no contact. I asked that that be dropped. I'm sorry I lied to you.
You can almost envision Harris holding Miss Lindsay in a headlock. We just don't want the no contact order anymore, Judge. We just don't need that.
Mr. Harris, my advice is don't say anything else. Take the cigarette out of your mouth. The hearing is adjourned. We're serious as a heart attack. It's the first time I ever had anybody sitting in the next room potentially intimidating a witness.
Kobe Harris is then hauled off to jail.
Kudos to the Sturgis Police Department for following up on this.
We hear the judge commend the police officers for their quick response and not so congratulatory, if you will, for the prosecutor thinking outside of the box. Certainly, but for her actions, things could have ended very differently on that day for Mary.
The way she handled it was brilliant.
In June of 2021, Kobe Harris pleads guilty to domestic violence and witness intimidation. He is sentenced to 5 years in prison.
Officers are directed to take him into custody.
It's 9:30 p.m. at the Davidson County Juvenile Detention Center in Nashville. 4 juvenile offenders are on cleanup duty.
Now, these aren't your ordinary teenagers who are out worrying about whether they're going to be asked for prom.
16-year-old Decorius Wright and 17-year-old Morris Marsh face murder charges. 15-year-old Calvin House, auto theft and gun possession. And 17-year-old Brandon Carruthers is looking at armed robbery and gun possession.
These are teenagers that are facing some serious charges.
The teens are supervised by guards from Youth Opportunity Investments.
There's big money in housing juvenile offenders, and the Youth Opportunity Investment Company is making $4.5 million a year running this facility in Nashville. So these 4 youths are working on this cleaning detail when apparently a fight breaks out nearby and the supervisor leaves these 4 unattended.
There's also an unattended elevator on the same floor.
And so these teens quickly realized, hey, nobody's watching us.
So these 4 kids get in the elevator and they go down, down, down. When they pop out, it's almost like a maze.
As you see them running down hallways, there's no one else around. There's not a guard station. There's not a person in the hallway.
After about 30 seconds, the teens make their way up the stairs and out the front door.
No one even out front of the building. It was the perfect storm for these young men to escape.
And the teens get a head start on law enforcement, thanks to their supervisor.
The supervisor, who's the man who left the scene in the first place, waits 35 minutes because he's not sure who to call.
He said he was confused, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to handle the situation. And while he was waiting, the individuals were getting further and further away from the facility. And what did he end up doing? He called 911.
3 of the juveniles are captured quickly, but the 4th, 17-year-old Brandon Carruthers, is on the run for 2 weeks.
He actually ended up on the most wanted list with a $13,000 reward for his apprehension. So this mess up ended up being a big mess up for Youth Opportunities Investment.
The supervisor and 2 other employees are arrested and charged with facilitating recklessness. All 3 are fired, and they are currently awaiting trial.
There was definitely cracks in the system that could have been avoided if people did their job.
And this isn't the only blemish on the Foundation's record. In June 2017, guards were met with a big surprise at the very same facility.
2 years earlier, a nurse kind of lost track of one of her detainees. The guy gets into a bathroom, and like MacGyver, he's using a toilet paper roll to unscrew a hatch to get into the ceiling to escape.
He crawls through the ceiling for 25 minutes, searching for a way out, until he's heard by a group of staffers below.
They could hear him overhead and kind of followed his footsteps.
You know, he's over here. No, he's over here. Until finally, he falls through the ceiling.
Two deputies saw his leg, grabbed him, yanked him down to the ground, put him in handcuffs, and took him back into custody.
Now, the pressure is on Youth Opportunity Investments to clean up their act as the city plans a new detention center.
Listen, kids, like adults who are being held in a penal institution, pay attention. They watch, they listen, and they learn.
Supposed to be places of calm and dignity, where order is maintained and justice is served. But when stakes and emotions are at their highest, cool heads don't always prevail. Coming up, an attorney under attack.
While he's tackling me, I felt the shock from the wires.
A judge disrobed.
Do you not understand? I am broken.
And an emotional surprise.
You know why you're here today?
Yes, sir.
All the jaw-dropping moments, plus key insights from our team of crime and legal experts.
I saw a woman who was desperate. I just didn't buy it.
On Chaos in Court. Attorney Jaye Person Lynn is at the San Bernardino Justice Center courthouse for what he believes to be routine business. He never imagined that the day would go so horribly wrong.
Jaye Person Lynn has been an attorney in California for more than 10 years. He's handled 250 cases.
The reason he was in court that day is because he was there to change a hearing date for his client. Now, he didn't have on his regular suit and tie because he thought he would only go to the clerk's office.
To his surprise, he's actually directed to take care of his business in the courtroom.
As soon as Jaye enters the courtroom, Deputy Paul Berry is right on him. Like, you know, do I know you?
I say no, but I'm here to speak to the clerk about one of my cases. He says, well, you have to go back there, and points to the gallery area of the courtroom.
That's the area behind the bar where everybody sits, where all the non-attorneys are.
I say, well, I am an attorney, and at that point he says, well, you need to go speak to the bailiff.
Person Lynn approaches Deputy Sutton.
He says, sir, you see that bar right there? Only attorneys can pass that bar. I tell Deputy Sutton, I am an attorney. I'm here to speak to the clerk about my case. I reach in my right back pocket where my wallet is to pull out my bar card to show them the proof.
And Officer Barry immediately grabs him and starts pushing him out of the well area.
I go to walk around him. He steps back in front of me and pushes me back again. While his hand is on my chest, I brought my hand up showing his displeasure, but did not use force to actually push his hand away.
Maybe they could have just told him, you know, take it a little slower.
I had never been shoved, grabbed in a courtroom.
Once again, Person Lynn tries to tell the deputies why he's in court.
I'm an attorney. I'm an officer of the court. I'm here to talk to the clerk. Okay. That's what I'm here for. What are you here to talk to the clerk? About what case? Not anyone.
Well, it's not social hour with the clerk. We got to figure out what you're doing here.
So Attorney Person Lynn already knew why he was in court. He was trying to articulate this to the deputy, but the deputy was having none of this. The question that begs to be asked and answered is, would he have treated Attorney Person Lynn differently if he hadn't been a black man?
In this situation, I have to call it the way it is. I absolutely believe that Person Lynn was treated unfairly because of his race. Now, you add on the fact that he wasn't dressed as an attorney and that they didn't communicate well, that just adds to this situation, but it started based on the fact that he was a young black man, he didn't look the part, and the bailiff didn't believe that he was an attorney.
And then you've got a longtime attorney who's being asked by some deputies to go out into the corridor area, and he's just refusing to do that. He's an attorney. He has a lot of experience, and he knows the importance of following the requests and orders of deputies and bailiffs. So as he's not compliant, essentially the situation begins to escalate.
You can step out. Step out. How am I going to step out? I'm
Available Robert.
You cannot approach the clerk.
In Department 7.
Why not?
We got a
Because that's the rules of the
vulnerable
court.
passenger.
You see that? Do not approach the clerk. Okay. Okay. So step out and I can help you outside.
You can see Deputy Paul Berry is actually reaching for a taser and placed it behind his back.
He's got it hidden behind his back, like he's gonna have some sort of sneak attack on this guy that he, again, does not believe is an attorney. Common sense would tell you that a taser, which is a weapon, is more effective when it's shown to the person you might want to use it on. Maybe that alone will stop that person from doing whatever it is you want them to stop doing.
I don't have a problem with the deputy pulling the taser out and putting it behind his back in anticipation that the situation is gonna escalate. So a lot of times as a law enforcement officer, when you're trying to de-escalate a situation and gain compliance through verbal commands only, it may not be uncommon to hold your taser back behind your back so that you're not irritating somebody, so they don't become even more agitated as they see that you are pulling out your taser.
So why are y'all putting out here? Because you're not listening.
As the situation starts to unfold outside of camera view, it's clear that Person Lynn is completely frustrated.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm here to talk to the clerk about my case.
Okay, so what's your client's name?
I have the case number, MSB 1802035, and I'm here to talk to the clerk about it. You fucked up.
MSB?
I promise you, you fucked up.
MSB?
Put your hands on me, Barbie.
Swearing at the deputies, telling them that they've effed up, really doesn't help his position in that now he has found himself acting from a position of emotion.
Definitely coming after you. I promise you with everything I have, everything I've learned and lost my...
And that's when it escalates to a 10.
While he's tackling me, I felt the shock from the wires on the taser. And so I just go down. It was shocking. Like, is he really doing this? I couldn't believe it.
Using a taser, I believe, was excessive in this situation.
The deputy looks to be senior, tenured to me, and what he does is creates an audio recording that will capture what's about to happen next, which will ultimately create a reason for Attorney Person Lynn to be tasered.
Get it? Don't tell me you're coming after me and you step up on me. You understand what I'm telling you? That's a threat. You done? You gonna go to the program or you gonna keep resisting?
At that point, I'm handcuffed extremely tight. So I was bruised long enough to have bruising and scars for months.
Even though Jaye is finally able to prove his law credentials, Deputy Berry is not charged with excessive force. Instead, Jaye is arrested.
Jaye is charged with obstructing an officer in the performance of his duty, and it's based on the moment at which he reaches for his ID card and the deputy basically stops him from doing that. And to get away from the deputy, Jaye basically touches him. And that is turned into some sort of physical altercation or act against the deputy, resulting in that charge. Ridiculous.
I signed the citation, and that should have been it. They should have let me go there. But instead, they wanted me to suffer the indignity of actually going to the jail and being booked.
After the arrest, the prosecutor's office could have easily dropped the charges, but they don't. Why would they waste time and resources on this type of case? Nobody knows.
What makes this case so ironic is that Attorney Person Lynn is known for defending cases that involve racial profiling and bias.
Growing up, having those personal, direct experiences, driving while black, pulled over, stopped, pulled out of the vehicle, the humiliation and degradation felt is the main driving force why I stuck to the plan of becoming a criminal defense attorney.
Over a year later, in September of 2020, Jaye Person Lynn goes to trial. He is convicted of obstructing or delaying a police officer and sentenced to a year probation.
I thought my law license empowered me to go and speak to a clerk about a case that I had in that courtroom. I now know that is not the case as I sit here right now on probation for going to do my job.
Even though the sentence itself was just probation, Jaye is appealing and should.
I believe this was a gross injustice. You have Person Lynn being arrested. I believe that was inappropriate. Then you have him being charged and ultimately brought before a judge in a trial. All of that ended up with a year of probation, all unheard of in this type of situation.
Person Lynn is currently suing San Bernardino County, as well as Deputy Paul Berry, for excessive force.
The physical scars have subsided. The emotional scars, I'm not sure. I used to wake up every 4th of July and read the Declaration of Independence because I was so proud to be American. I'm hopeful that the civil suit, as well as the appeal, will provide some sort of vindication, but what was taken from me can, never really be given.
In a crowded Michigan courtroom, former Judge Teresa Brennan finds herself on the other side of the bench during her sentencing for perjury at Livingston County Circuit Court.
The shame I felt, the fear of going into a store, anywhere in public because of the stares.
The judge's problems really all began back in January 2013. At that time, she was presiding over a double murder trial. Jerome Kowalski was accused of murdering his brother and sister-in-law.
About 4 days prior to the trial, a scandalous accusation was made in that Judge Brennan was involved in a close personal relationship with the main witness, lead detective Sean Furlong.
One of the problems with having a close personal relationship with a lead witness is the fact that it may appear that you cannot be fair and impartial.
Judge Brennan said, no, absolutely not. This is just a friendship, nothing more than that. And after being asked to recuse herself from this particular case, she said, no, I'm not going to do that.
Ultimately, there is a verdict and a conviction. Kowalski convicted of killing his brother and sister-in-law. And Kowalski is sentenced to life. Now, flash forward 4 years, it's 2017, and Judge Brennan is in the midst of a nasty divorce from her husband, Don Root.
I didn't want him to leave. I didn't want him to leave.
These allegations that she had relations with the lead detective on that murder case came back to haunt her when her husband exposed the affair during her trial.
People have been telling me right up to that point, God, she's screwing around.
The judge admitted that she had the affair, but she said the affair occurred after the trial. We now know that not to be true.
Phone records indicate that Judge Brennan had conversations with the lead detective 3 times during the trial. And then there were another 231 calls prior to the trial.
Ultimately, Judge Teresa Brennan was charged with perjury, misconduct in office, and tampering with evidence.
People versus Teresa Brennan.
Brennan faces up to 15 years in prison on the perjury charge if convicted in a trial.
Ms. Brennan wishes to plead guilty.
But she pleads guilty in December 2019 as part of a deal with the Michigan Attorney General's office for a maximum sentence of 6 months.
In my divorce, I was asked if I had asked my staff to research how I could delete information from my phone. And my answer was that I was joking when I said it.
Okay, and you were not joking,
I was not joking.
When the question about your fairness and your ability to be impartial comes into play, then it's time for you to be removed from the bench and maybe suffer other consequences.
7 years after the Kowalski murder trial, the former judge faces those consequences.
During sentencing, you always see varying emotions. The judge gave it her all.
At night, I got the rosary as I fell asleep. I would awake, I would pull the comforter over my head, creating a cocoon. Fall and winter were a welcome relief because darkness arrives sooner.
I saw a woman who was desperate to explain away her unprofessional behavior. I just didn't buy it.
I have believed I am worthless. I have believed I will never be deserving of love. Do you not understand? I am broken.
In this case, the tearful confession did not convince the judge. The judge sentenced her to 6 months in jail, 200 hours of community service, and 18 months of probation, the top end of the sentencing range.
As a result of the outrageous and egregious behavior by the judge in the case of Jerome Kowalski, of course the case was thrown out, the conviction was overturned, and we're waiting to see what's going to happen in the second trial.
It never feels good to see another person in your profession, in this case a judge, sentencing a judge who is caught doing something so wrong. It hurts the profession.
At the Broward County Courthouse, 27-year-old William Green is facing battery charges for allegedly attacking a hospital worker in a mental health facility.
At the time of this incident, Mr. Green was being treated for a diagnosis of psychosis.
Assistant Public Defender Julie Chase is also in court. She's there on another case with someone else.
This is an open room where defendants are sitting waiting to be called up. There are no barriers between the attorney and the defendants.
They're not cuffs. They don't have shackles.
Julie Chase is standing there at the podium with her female defendant.
And then, for no apparent reason, Green jumps up and he sucker punches her from behind. She has no clue it's coming.
It happened so quickly that the judge didn't even see it.
What happened?
As soon as Miss Chase is cold clocked on the side of her head, multiple officers are seen grabbing Mr. Green. They throw him to the ground.
Is Miss Chase okay?
She says that she experiences some ringing in her ears. Obviously, it was painful, but mostly she's kind of disoriented, not really understanding what just happened.
The bailiffs, the deputies, and other attorneys immediately ran to her assistance.
William Green is charged with battery for knocking Julie Chase to the ground.
Chase is taken right away to the hospital, and luckily she's released. That day, injuries suffered not that severe physically.
But she does suffer some emotional scars as a result of this violent attack.
Public defenders are at a great risk.
Some public defenders don't want their clients handcuffed because it gives the inference of guilt.
It's a catch-22. Do you want safety, or do you want him or her to be unrestrained?
It's never a problem until it's a problem. Why would you have 30 to 40 inmates sitting in a room on a variety of charges, not knowing if at any point one of them is going to take advantage of the situation?
This entire incident spurred Chase to become more vigilant in regard to how mental health patients should be handled in the justice system.
As a result of this attack, the rules were changed at this courthouse. All defendants appearing at this type of hearing will be handcuffed. Yeah, that might be inconvenient for some, but it makes everybody safe.
At the Washington County Courthouse, unsuspecting 30-year-old Jessie Coleman has been duped by her stepmother, Carla Robinson, into seeing Judge Russell Vaclaw.
Jessie thought that she was actually just accompanying Robinson, who had some legal matters to deal with in court.
I'm trying to hang back, so I'm staring off into La La Land, minding my own business. And then the judge goes,
actually, why don't you two both come stand right here, right in front of me. Okay. You're Jessie Coleman?
Yes, sir. So I straighten up a little bit because I'm like, oh no. Man, did I run a stop sign? Maybe I sped and I didn't realize it. And so I'm like instantly trying to figure out what I did wrong.
Jessie's been my baby since she was 3, when I met her father and married him. Fell in love with her the minute I met her.
It was almost instantaneously that I started calling her mother, just because I didn't have a connection with my birth mother. She definitely made sure she went out of her way to give me the extra love and affection that I needed. And we just kind of instantly bonded because of that.
When we had her on weekend visitation, she lived with her biological mother. She never wanted to go back. She would cling to my neck and just cry, and they would have to pull her off of me. It broke my heart every time.
Carla was very observant of Jessie, and she noticed when Jessie would return from her biological mother's home, she sometimes had marks on her,
bruises, and unusual behaviors in Jessie, not wanting to be alone.
Carla starts writing in a journal all the instances that she sees.
And that is so important before you take that next step to report it to Child Protective Services.
Child Care Services eventually digs into it deeper and realizes that the child, Jessie, is being sexually assaulted.
Jessie says the abuser was the son of one of her mother's friends who spent time at the house.
According to Carla, as a result of the findings of the investigation, CPS removed all custody rights of the biological mother.
We got a call, and I'm sorry. We didn't even have to go back to court. The judge said it was an easy ruling for him, and we were awarded full custody. I'm sorry, full custody.
It was like instant relief of knowing like I would not ever have to go back to that situation again.
To understand how tight the bond was between Jessie and her stepmother, Carla, when Carla and the biological father got divorced in 2007, Carla still wanted to stay close to Jessie.
Carla really longed to adopt Jessie even after the divorce. However, Carla suffered from 2 bouts of brain cancer. There were financial issues, and life just piled on both of them.
It was 2 weeks before my 31st birthday. My mom had said, hey, this year for your birthday and Mother's Day, we're going to do manicures and pedicures, and we're just going to have a whole day to ourselves. As it started drawing near, my mom was like, oh, listen, daughter, I'm so sorry, but I completely forgot. I have to go to the courthouse really quick.
You know why you're here today? Well, some things are worth the wait.
Oh, okay.
So for over 20 years, someone has been a mother to you.
And I could see like a light flip on in Jessie, like, oh, I think I know what this is about.
Even though you were not born to her, she treated you as if you were her child, and you treated her as if she was your mother. So I ask you again, do you know why you're here today?
Yes, sir.
Do you want Miss Robinson to adopt you?
Yes, sir.
To be her legally adopted daughter?
Yes, sir.
Then it's my honor, as of now, she is legally and formally your mother.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is very unusual to see one adult effectively adopt another adult. But to Carla and Jessie, it felt like the right thing to do no matter when it happened.
It is really unique being adopted as an adult, even though it was just a symbolic thing and it didn't change like our relationship or anything like that. Having the validation on paper was definitely something that I had always wanted. It meant a lot to me.
It's made my heart happy and it's given me closure. There's no reason that we need to put things off or not do them because we think we're too old. Because whether they're 3 or 30, everyone needs a parent.